Awesome. Good evening. First of all, I just want to say thank you for inviting me. I feel very honored to be on this call with all of you tonight. I've skimmed through all the pictures, and y'all look beautiful. So thank you for allowing me to be on tonight. First of all, as a new politician, just reading all the information about what this organization provides, I just want you to know that it is so needed. When I learned about it, when Molly called me, I was just ecstatic. So I think that this level of support and insight is so very encouraging and important, especially for people like me. So thank you for that. So where do I begin? I'll just spend a few minutes just kind of telling you a little bit about me and my why. First of all, that's the number one question people are asking me. Why in the world would you get in this race? And the answer was simple for me. Actually, it wasn't. It was after George Floyd last year and all the things that happened. I found myself in a space that I had never been in over 22 years, where I felt like I was being pulled from by the Black community and also from the Blue community. And I tell you, I've been talking about this for the last year and a half. About how I took a stand last year, and I said, look, I don't have to choose. I'm proud to serve my community as a police officer, and I'm proud to be an African American. And obviously, our election here locally isn't until 2023, but I began to think about, and our sheriff here, his term is up in 2023, and I began to think about, this critical state that we're in and what I could do. Being in that space that I was in, I thought, I had a unique opportunity because I see like all sides of being able to unify law enforcement with the community. So that's when I really started thinking about this. But also it's because I love Jacksonville. I've raised my children here. They've attended public school. And just like a lot of people all across our country, people are concerned about the relationships that police have with our community. So for those who don't know me, know that, and this may sound cliche, but I am very authentic and just honest. I am someone who has always believed that safe homes and safe communities is the very foundation of where hopes and dreams and futures are built. And a lot of times in a lot of our high violent crime areas, our youth don't get that opportunity. But also I know up close and personal, and that's why I've been really sharing my testimony. And it's a story about um, resiliency and opportunity, and a story about redemption. So I was sexually abused at the age of 11 to 14 years old. And obviously, my life spiraled out of control with depression and hate and pain and every negative emotion that you can think of. And I ended up having very low self esteem, began looking for love in all the wrong places. And I ended up being pregnant at 14 years old. I had my baby at 15 years old, and I finally got up enough courage to tell what was happening. And I called a police officer that showed up in the very uniform that I wear today. And that individual was taken to jail only to be released after a couple of months. He came back home and I ended up leaving home. So I've been on my own roughly since I was been about 16 years old. And when I left home, I was in survival mode, really moving from place to place. I didn't stay anywhere too long because I was broken and I was causing havoc in everybody's house that I stayed in. But during that time, I was in and out of high school. And I found myself consuming drugs and alcohol just to deaden the pain that I felt. And I was very hopeless and found myself homeless. And in 1992, on the verge of suicide because I felt like my life had no value. I literally hated to see myself in a mirror. And as I began to contemplate suicide, God had other plans for me, and I can tell you from that night, from that day, His purpose for my life has been manifesting itself from that point on. And obviously, I was able to get my life together and get into this profession. So for me, for 22 years, I have dedicated my entire career in the trenches of our community here in Jacksonville, all over this city. And I have done it in and out of my uniform, whether I've been on or off duty. I've always given of my time, talent, and treasures. I've always met people where they were because people met me where I was back in the day. So, and that's just who I am. And that's how I've always serve my community. So again, I've been on for 22 years. Over half of my career, I've been in a supervisory role. I knew very early on in this male dominant profession, in order to affect change on a greater level, you needed to be promoted. So I can tell you over the last 7 years, I've been in an administrative role, and 4 of those years, I was blessed to be the first female executive director of the Police Athletic League. And that is a youth serving nonprofit here in Jacksonville, actually the very nonprofit that gave me an opportunity. And if you know me, you'll know that I am an advocate. I believe in early intervention and prevention. It was the encounter that I had with a police officer when I was 16 years old. He caught me stealing out of a store, and I was with my baby, and he used such compassion and wisdom. And instead of taking me to the juvenile detention facility, he took me over to the Police Athletic League, which was really that changed the trajectory of my life. And a couple of years later, I was able to get a full basketball scholarship to play college basketball at the University of Central Florida, where I took my baby. But who would have thought that 20 years later that I would be the first female CEO to run the Police Athletic League? So I tell people my life came full circle. And I always tell people that, because literally people thought I was the worst kid in Jacksonville. But I tell people, even the worst kid that we think is the worst, if they have opportunity in a support system, they can turn their lives around as well. So I tell people that in my agency here locally, we have one of the best police departments in the country. We have great technology, training, people, but even with the best organization, there's always room for improvement. And I can tell you, after last year, it was very heavy on my heart to do something. And so when I started looking at this race, I said, somebody got to do it. So I am huge on community-oriented policing. I think that we have to get back to that. When I started back in 1999, community-oriented policing was the fabric of every police officer. And from my professional opinion, I just think over the years that's kind of diminished, or we have gotten away from, being in the community, getting out our cars, building relationships. And as that has diminished, this gap between the community and law enforcement kind of widened. And then you had last year happen. It was like a tipping point ready to happen. So for me, I got in this race early. Once I prayed about it and I talked to my political consultants and my family, I didn't waste any time. And on April 5th, I went and signed my name on a dotted line. So, and I tell people, law enforcement has become so overly politicized at a detriment of police departments across this country. And I believe that the sheriff should be nonpartisan, so people will hear my message. And I feel very strongly about this because we are in some critical times. Right now I am an assistant chief. I am the chief over a zone. So our city is broken up into 6 zones. So I'm in charge of one of those zones where all the officers work. And I can tell you, I work with some amazing police officers, and it's really tough. After 22 years, we have a very younger generation that needs a lot of mentorship and training and support. So I've been proud to lead that zone over there. And I can tell you, I took over that zone about a year and a half ago, and I literally have seen a paradigm shift because of the leadership style that I have and what I brought to the table. And I can tell you, year to date, we've had the highest crime reduction in our zone. But most importantly, I just see how they have embraced the concepts and this idea that, we need to get more involved with our community, because I believe that stronger relationships with our community will help address a lot of our violent crime. But we have to work with our community. And right now, you'll see it. We're fighting everywhere, So I just feel like I have a unique perspective and ability to begin to bridge the gap between law enforcement and our community. So again, I got in this early. Right now, what I simply been doing is raising money. So I heard y'all had an uncashed check. If y'all don't want to cash it, y'all can send it to me. I'll cash it. But I'm so early on in this. So I'm just simply going around sitting down, listening to the needs of the people. I think that's very important. Everybody's like, what's your platform? What's your platform? And I think that every sheriff has the responsibility to deal with the crime issue and the relationship issue. But I just think that we have to stop and begin to listen to the people. So that's what I'm doing. I know that wherever city you live in, every community, every neighborhood is different, and we cannot kind of address the issues with this broad brush. You have to go out there and you have to listen to the people and see what the needs are and dissect it and address it from a holistic approach. So that is my style of leadership, looking from our crime issue and whatever issue we have from a holistic approach. I think that we've done a lot. We do very, very good on enforcement, but for my belief is not, we just can't arrest our way out of this. I think that we need to invest more in education on both sides with law enforcement and our community. We need to do more in communicating, but early intervention, prevention, working with our stakeholders and our nonprofit community, our faith-based community is so essential. I shared with you, I experienced one of the most horrific crimes that could be against a child. And I can tell you, this whole idea that they think that a woman in leadership will be weak or soft on crime is so far from the truth. I want those who violate and the criminals to go to jail, and I also want them to do their time. But also, I recognize if we can intervene in the life of somebody at an early age to make sure they don't go down that route of victimizing somebody, I certainly want to make sure that we are putting our efforts in that as well. So again, I'm Lakesha Burton. I am so excited. Anybody that's on here, I am a sponge. I got in this race because I have a heart for the people. And I tell people it is not about prestige. I know it's awesome. I'm the first woman. I'll be the first Black woman sheriff in the state of Florida. That is awesome. But it is not about prestige. It is not about political party for me. I work with amazing police officers. And I can tell you for 22 years that I've served, I've never served a party. I serve people. And that's what I plan to really reinnovate with our troops here. But finally, it's not about power for me. It is about the people. I've been serving the people for a long time, and I want to make sure that as law enforcement, we get back to being focused on service for our community. So, and I'll stop because I can talk forever as well. So, so thank you for listening to me. I'm open to any question that you may have, and do understand that I've been going around talking to a lot of people, and I believe in doing things decent and in order. There's a lot of hot topics that's going on, but I do yield to some of those questions because we can only have one sheriff at one time, and I respect our current sheriff, and I'm still a full-time employee, a staff member with the sheriff. So. And I just wanted to put that out there because, you know, I'm sitting and people have some really important questions. So I talk about the things that's appropriate for me to talk about. But those things that are that my sheriff is currently leading the charge on, I just make sure I step to the side and let him lead as the sheriff right now.
Okay. So is the sheriff term limited?
Yes, ma'am. So we had 2 terms and his term 2 4-year terms. Yes.
Will be up. Okay. Would you just share with people how much money you've raised so far?
Well, if you send me that uncashed check, it'll be a whole lot more. I'm just kidding. No, so after 2 months, I was able to raise over $500,000 here. So right now we are a little over $700,000. But most important for me, I think that is the diverse support that I have from all party lines, and that is a loud message here locally that people are wanting some change, and they recognize that it's time to elect a different type of leader, a different style of leadership, and somebody who sees from a different set of lens and have a different perspective of how we should go about addressing our crime issues and our relationship issues. So I feel very blessed about it.
Okay, we have a question in the chat, and that is, how would you define community policing? Community policing.
Yes, community policing is just building relationships, you know. In law enforcement, when you start out, they teach you about having a warrior mindset and guardian mindset. The warrior mindset is so incredibly important. That's how we stay alive, because it is a lot of evil and dangerous people out here. But the guardian mindset is the one where you embrace, you show compassion, you help people, and I think that over time we are just we have this warrior mindset because it's so dangerous. You'll see it. Police officers are being gunned down and ambushed literally every day for just doing their jobs, So we all want to be always ready. So I just think that community policing is just building relationships. That's it. If you're driving by somebody that's out cutting their lawn, just to stop, get out and introduce yourself. And I can tell you right now, in my area, some of the things I've done to incorporate and infuse community-oriented policing is create opportunities. Like I've created a squad just for business walks. They go out, they engage people with business walks. I have I've created an award. It's called Community Engagement Officer Award, because a lot of times we give awards for people who arrested bank robbers and arrested murder suspects. And I thought, there's more to our job than just putting the bad guys in jail. I want to award the good work in those that pay it forward type things that we're doing. And I can tell these officers, they're loving, they're being highlighted for just the small things that matter. So just really building relationships. Look, like it's anything with relationships, I'm married. Look, I would have never married my husband if we didn't spend time together, if we didn't talk to each other and begin to build relationships. It's no different than law enforcement in our community.
Do you support the continuation of the Safer Together Committee?
Well, my perspective was about this because one of the council members that work in my zone, her district is in my area, who she was, I believe, the chair of the committee. So I certainly was excited about the opportunity for citizens to come to the table and listen and talk with law enforcement. And I think it was very beneficial. I listened to many of them over the months. And I think that anytime you can educate our community, answer questions, it is a win-win. So I'm not sure exactly why it ended. I think that from my perspective, I think that it was reduced to one issue, a topic that our current sheriff he said no to. So I just think that I wish that the meetings would have continued, because I always love to be able to educate our community. But I just think that I talk about the politics being so overly entrenched into what we do. It's just very difficult. So, but from what I understand, they're not having them, but we still will have to have open communication with our community members.
Okay. We have one more question. Would you be open to a community task force to address police policies?
What do you mean by community task force?
I'm not sure what the author meant.
I meant that here in River County, the sheriff department did open to have a community task force by which to look at policies, police policies, sheriff policies. However, they weren't going to allow the community to get involved in active cases, like addressing personnel, how you all do your selection for personnel, how do you go about, whatever policies that you're using for apprehending, people, perpetrators, et cetera, et cetera.
Yes. So we do a lot of that now. The citizens do have the ability to have access to our policies, our procedures. So we do have that. But I think the thing I would do is I would make that a really a priority, and to have an open forum and really walk through a lot of our procedures. Because a lot of times, you know, in law enforcement, we speak different languages. Like when I'm sitting talking to doctors, if they're talking in doctor language, I don't understand it. So I think there's a lot of value with bringing citizens in at the table and walking through the procedures and explaining, even with incidents that occur. I think to verbalize and walk through incidents with the citizens and have them answer questions, I think that's a better way of making sure that the citizens are understanding from our perspective why we do what we do and why do we have this in place.
Okay, very good. Thank you so much for your presentation. How can we help you?
Thank you. Well, first of all, I covered your prayers. You know, this is a new territory, and I tell you, when I got in this race, I told my husband, if I raise $1 or get one vote, I'm just proud that my voice is going to be heard, you know. So I am for right. And I certainly see where there's a lot of room for growth. And obviously, we are dealing with some tough situations. And I think that we have to get to the point where we start addressing and talking about these uncomfortable conversations, you know. But I certainly believe that it's going to take the community and law enforcement and all of our stakeholders to address the issues that we have going on. And obviously, you know, any insight that you have. Obviously, I'm still raising money as well. So anybody, if you have any connections here in Jacksonville, you know, just you can connect me, tell your friends and family members. So you know, you in this race right now. You tell me what else I need. Yes.
Well, it sounds like that you're doing all of the right things now, of course, by starting early. And we will be watching your race. I suggest that you contact Kathy Lewis so you can have a closer contact with her committee. But we will be pulling for you. And we certainly thank you for, and you have such a powerful message. So thank you so much. Nikki, you're going to say something?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to speak on real quick. Lakesha, thank you. Thank you for starting early. Thank you for having the conviction to jump into this race, into the sheriff's race. And as a mom who's raising two young girls, 16 and 8, especially my 16-year-old, it becomes more evident now as she's looking towards college and looking towards what her life's going to be like and what her career may be in the future. It is shaped by those that actually do. Right? So my daughter is very confident that she can go to FAMU because her Uncle Andrew went to FAMU. She can do what Andrew did, right? She's very confident about if she wanted to work in the field that I work in, she can do because mom did. And when they see women who do, it really opens up a whole new world of opportunity for them. And so with that, I thank you because you are going to win this race. You are going to be the sheriff over in Duval County, and you are going to open up new opportunity for so many young women now who will then know they too can do because of you. So thank you.
Yes.
Amen.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And we invite you to join our organization.
Yes. Okay. Yes. I have the information. I'll get on that. And I see somebody had a question about what zone. So I'm over at zone 2, all of the Arlington area, all the way to the beach, everything north of Beach Boulevard.
Okay. All right. Thank you.